Forrester-Gill. I'm a dentist, and I'm talking about lead poisoning in Jamaica. I came upon the information that lead was a problem here when I started to work in a water store. Someone asked me if lead was a contaminant. Someone who I was considering doing business with asked me if lead was a contaminant in the water, and that sort of took me by surprise because my training had taught me that lead was a dangerous substance, and I thought, in the water? Previous to that, I had seen a gunman which sort of put everything together. I encountered him in an upper class area, not threatening me, but with a gun in his hand. And I noticed that he looked deranged. I started to investigate. So I just did a search, simple search, and then I saw lead and crime and lead and misbehavior and lead and all these things. And I started to put it together with Jamaica. And then the information poured at me. On TV the other day where the child got beaten, the behavior was so bad that the principal had to beat him again. What did he do? Must have done something awful. He's of the age that his behavior should be evaluated. Don't just label him. There's a reason why people don't do normal things. People who come from normal situations started to abnormal things. That should be an alarm. To me, it was sure, because everything what was going on here was sort of out of character. The children, the age group that was affected with the behavior problems. So I started to investigate some of my patients. At the time I was doing dentistry at the time still. And I started, this was in Clarendon in Maypen. And I started asking them questions about the behavior of their children. And it was like I was reading straight from the computers. I was reading a textbook. They talked about 5-year-olds who were violent. Their physical complaints about stomach aches and headaches, and what they would eat, how they would behave, how irrational they were, impulsive. They'd hurt their smaller siblings in ways that were not normal. My patients would go as far as taking their children to the doctor for their behavior, and then the doctor would tell them that the child behaved this way because maybe the parent wasn't doing a good job. And that was the recurrent theme when these parents took their children to the doctor. So I started even more investigations, more reading the literature, scientific journals, and found out that a lot of studies have been done here on Jamaican children, from as far back as 1987. The woman who becomes pregnant who was lead poisoned, that moves the lead from your bones, where it was stored, back into your blood. So now it's now circulating through your blood again, going back into your brain, causing you that lead damage again into your brain, and also circulating into the blood of your fetus. So that child is growing lead poisoned and will be born lead poisoned. A lot of these babies are labeled colicky. You know, when they pull up their foot and they cry all the time, you can't console them. They're always sad. Those babies are born lead poisoned. It's just like when babies are born drug addicted. If you catch this disease before that child becomes 3 years old, you can treat it. It is reversible. They can be normal. But once they are past 3 years old, the damage is permanent and irreversible. You can't be a society and damage your pregnant women and children. There was one study that said that in 1987, Jamaica had so many lead-poisoned children. It was so alarming to the Ministry of Health that they contacted the National Institute of Health in the United States, Center for Disease Control, and they assisted Jamaica in this study to find out what was happening. And that's when they discovered that the amount of children that were poisoned was as a result of the backyard battery recycling operations that were going on. In the study, 100% of the children between 0 and 6 years old were lead poisoned at, numbers that were out of this world. Every child under 6. And then 90-something% between 6 and 12, and like 50% of the adults. It's a global problem. it's something that countries worldwide are aware of, are protecting their citizens from, are dealing with aggressively, because the science is there. I mean, it's been studied. It's the most studied environmental toxin, lead is. So it's not, everything is well documented. The lead is a metal, it's a scrap metal. Also, the battery is recyclable. You can recycle a car battery, it's highly recyclable. So maybe you have some people who don't want a brand new battery or can't afford a brand new battery. They know where to go to give the person this old battery. I went on a website and it says it had a list of the largest battery incidents in the world. And Kingston, Jamaica was the first one on the list. One thing I noticed was that they were all dealing with one incident or one area. Jamaica was like one time when 900 children were damaged. But that's different. Jamaica had areas that affected thousands of children all over the island. 2001, Professor Gerald Layler, who is in charge pretty much of studying heavy metal, which lead is, in Jamaica, conducted a study amongst Jamaica's basic school children. And the results were that 1 out of 3 children in Kingston that he studied were lead poisoned. And 1 out of 6, I think, in St. Catherine. And it was dispersed island-wide. I wrote letters to the Prime Minister. After writing the Prime Minister, he responded with a letter asking that I meet with Professor Layler. He set up an appointment, we set up an appointment, but he just confirmed the studies but said, you know, he's been trying to tell but nobody's listening. Pretty much that was his tone. And I met with him subsequent to that, and with other people, NEPA, PAHO, representatives of Ministry of Health. The ministers were supposed to be at that meeting, but nobody came. And that was fruitless. Even the end, I asked them for a list. I said, well, can I have the list? Can I see the list of... And it was like, okay, what's the name of your organization? And let me see your board of directors and your... So I was like, you know what? Because it was just difficult. It seemed very difficult. These people had the information and they were in denial. They were acting like children. This is not really true. We haven't done these studies in Jamaica, so we can't confirm these North American studies. That's North America. This is Jamaica. Don't try to tell us. Basically, that was their attitude. At one point, I contacted an international organization called the Blacksmith Institute that they help developing countries to deal with lead that's caused from the recycling of the batteries. And they needed some more information. I sent them the studies. They wanted current information. So I did the best I could and I got them videotapes. They came. And when they came, they wanted to visit communities and test certain things. I couldn't take them there. I told them I would not take them there, but they went to meet with Gillian Guthrie from, she was with NEPA, but I think now she's with Office of the Prime Minister. And they probably arranged to take them to Mona Commons and Marvelly. And after that, nothing else was done. They just blocked me right out. They said they're going to deal with the government agencies, and because they have the resources to, and they said we're not really interested in your involvement. And that's the last I've heard of anything about them or any project or any because that didn't really bother me if something, but nothing has been done. I haven't heard anything. I've checked their website. Nothing with Jamaica. So that's it in terms of the problem. Anything being done based on me saying anything to anybody. I mean, I've spoken to people in the Ministry of Health. Nothing. Everybody is ignoring the problem.